In 2026, Pokemon will be celebrating its 30th anniversary, and if there's one thing I know about Pokemon, it's that they love to celebrate their anniversaries. Every 5 years or so, there's always some kind of new commemorative promotion or event, usually focusing on Generation 1, and with a huge 30-year milestone coming up, I think they're going to do something big. I think for Pokemon's 30th anniversary, they're going to make a Kanto sequel game. Now, what do I mean by a Kanto sequel game? Well, with how much Pokemon loves to promote and, let's say, play favorites with Pokemon's first generation of games, by giving them constant exposure like new remakes, reprinting old TCG cards, giving Gen 1 Pokemon more megas and forms, tons of references, cameos, and in-game events, I think it's clear that Pokemon cherishes the legacy it made 30 years ago. For such a milestone anniversary, I believe Pokemon is going to celebrate Generation 1 by bringing back a reimagined Kanto region and creating a modern Pokemon experience set within it. What I'm proposing is a 30th anniversary Pokemon game that is open world and plays like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, but is set within a reimagined version of Kanto roughly 10 to 15 years after the events of Pokemon Red and Blue. Getting to explore a version of Kanto that A, is now open world, meaning that environments, towns, and dungeons will be redesigned for a larger scale and expanded, and B, takes place 10 plus years in the future with numerous changes and progression to the world and characters we know and love, means that this game, which would technically be our 6th return to the Kanto region, would actually do something unique. It would be a blend of new and old, a game that appeals to people whose first Pokemon game was Red and Blue, while also having all the innovations and new additions of modern Pokemon games. It could tell a story that's familiar and a homage to the basic plotlines of early Pokemon games, while also including lengthy quests, multiple generations of Pokemon, and characters from later games to celebrate the franchise's long-running history. Because I'm currently making my own creature-catching game, I do a lot of brainstorming and ideation on a daily basis, and I wanted to throw a couple ideas I came up with for this hypothetical Kanto sequel game. This isn't going to be super elaborate or long like some of my other videos, but I wanted to show that this concept has tons of potential. So first things first, with this game being set 10 plus years after Red and Blue, there'd be a lot of changes to the region that have happened since we last saw it. Obviously, the change to an open world style game means that routes and towns will be bigger and more fleshed out, but even on a more conceptual level, I imagine the region has grown and evolved a lot. Firstly, Alola's Seafolk Village could have migrated to the Vermilion City dock. This would be a nice reference to a later Pokemon game, especially since Alola had so many Kanto references, and could include a way to purchase Z-Crystals or trade for Alolan forms. Silphco in Saffron City would have vastly expanded, to the point that it has heavily impacted the city itself with all the new tech that has been invented. Think of a somewhat futuristic city that has warp tiles and panels everywhere, top-grade inventors from other regions visiting, and new Pokemon innovations on the verge of being discovered. While Saffron City has been prospering, the same cannot be said for Lavender Town. Since Generation 2, Mr. Fuji has passed on, and the ghost Pokemon he formerly took care of have become enraged. They've taken to haunting their former home, the now Kanto radio tower, and have chased most people away from the area with their tricks and spooky antics. After the big volcanic eruption in Generation 2, Cinnabar Island has been partially rebuilt and turned into a nature reserve, not unlike the Safari Zone. Aside from numerous Pokemon that have been brought over from other regions to help the island grow and thrive, the only other inhabitant is the former gym leader Blaine, who has retired from his previous role and now enjoys relaxing on the island by doing some small undisclosed research. For those dedicated explorers out there, you'll still be able to find remnants of the burned down mansion on the island, and also discover some secret labs that haven't been entirely destroyed and seem operational, which Blaine is rather coy about. This brings up a lot of questions about Blaine and what he's up to, and now's probably a good time to move over to the possible gym leader roster of this game. As I said, Blaine is super old, and I think he'd have retired from being a gym leader a few years ago. On the flip side, however, Brock, Misty, and Lieutenant Surge would have only improved in Pokemon battling and remained gym leaders, being thought of as the tougher bosses of the Indigo League. Sabrina has semi-retired from being a gym leader to focus on her acting career in Unova, which has left an open slot for the Saffron City Dojo to fill with a new fighting-type gym leader. The Fuchsia City Gym is still being run by the Koga family, with an even younger cousin of Janine's filling in as the ninja gym leader. Agatha, the former Ghost-type user of the Elite Four, has volunteered for a gym leader position inside the abandoned radio tower in Lavender Town to try and quell the spirits. Moving upwards into the actual Elite Four and champion, I think Red would be the champion for this game. If we're going purely on nostalgia and making cool homages to earlier Pokemon storylines, having Red as the final boss would be perfect. As for the Elite Four itself, Claire, from Johto, will have replaced Lance as the resident Dragon Master, Janine may have upgraded to an Elite Four member, much like her father did before her, and it might be a bit too much with Red already as the champion, but I think it would be neat to have Blue as a possible Elite Four member too. The last thing I'll mention before getting out of here is some potential plot points. I know it's kind of boring, but I think Team Rocket could come back as the main antagonist, but this time have more of an emphasis on evil technology. Perhaps they partner with Silphco in a desperate attempt at controlling the region and its Pokemon, and maybe they even have more explicit ties to Mewtwo this time around, having Blaine restart the Pokemon Mansion research from years ago. I'm not saying this game would have Mew 3, but I'm also not saying that. A plot thread from a long time ago that could be continued in this game is the ending of the original Sun and Moon, with Lily and her mother moving to Kanto to find a cure for Lucamine's ultra poisoning. I think this is a great setup for Lily to be your rival in this game, and she could serve the role of a nice supportive friend rival very well as she tries to get stronger and help her mother. And that's a collection of my ideas and predictions for a Kanto sequel game, aka what I think Pokemon's 30th anniversary project is going to be. It's a bit crazy and out there, but I think in terms of broad strokes, it's a great idea that combines the legacy and nostalgia of Generation 1 with the modern gameplay and ideas of open world Pokemon. Anyways, what do you guys think? Too crazy or just crazy enough to happen? Maybe you have some of your own ideas you'd like to share. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.